I was wrong. Coach Prime called the shot. He came in. He got it done. TCU's 0-1 after losing to Colorado, 45-42. How did it happen? We'll break it down. I'll eat crow here for the next 25 minutes or so. We'll talk about what it means moving forward for the Frogs next. This is Locked On Horned Frogs.
You are Locked On Horned Frogs, your daily podcast on the TCU Horned Frogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Horned Frogs. I'm Steven Simcox. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our podcast wherever it is you get it in its audio form. I'll start today by just saying, I said this in like an instant reaction video on Twitter. I don't know how many of you follow me at Simcox Steven, but I said I've never been more wrong. I don't think I've ever been more wrong about a sporting event than I was this afternoon. And I felt like, honestly, the more that I dug into Colorado's roster through the week, I did like try to listen and read a lot of the feedback and comments from people that were either fans of the Buffs or just fans of Coach Prime. I started to I was less confident when the week ended than when it started about TCU really covering the spread. Not so much winning, but covering. But it didn't matter because I was wrong on both fronts. They lost 45-42. Colorado won the football game. And I want to be careful today. Like, I remember when TCU beat Michigan in the Fiesta Bowl, the discussion around college football and around college sports and by a lot of the national folks was, oh, well, TCU was super lucky in that game and things broke their way and Michigan played horribly. But, I mean, first I'll just give credit where credit's due. Like, Colorado called their shot. They came in there, they got it done. Coach Prime was confident. You know, Deion Sanders has always been confident. Obviously, he's accomplished a lot in his career as a player, Hall of Famer. He's accomplished a lot in his career as a coach. And they beat TCU, and they beat them on the field. Do I think TCU played their best game on Saturday? No, but it doesn't really matter. Like, we're not going to make excuses on the show. Colorado played a good football game, and they won. And I knew they had talent. I thought their offense would be good. But the thing that stood out to me beyond the final score was that's a really well-coached football team. Like, that was not just we're going to just dump it out to our athletes and let them bail us out. They had a good game plan. They played a clean football game. Only one turnover. I guess if you count the blocked field goal, kind of two changes of possession there. But only one turnover that led to TCU points on the day. Not a ton of penalties. I mean, a few, but not as many as TCU had. TCU looked like the team that was out of control and chaotic and the team that didn't have a full grasp on what they were doing. Colorado looked like a really confident group that knew exactly what they wanted to do, and they executed it well on Saturday. Defensively, just an atrocious performance from the Horned Frogs. A ton of missed tackles. Just countless, kind of fundamental errors on that side of it. Not getting guys to the ground, not finishing plays. Deion Sanders threw for 500 yards. Colorado didn't run the ball especially well. I mean, in the second half, they basically abandoned the running game. Only had 55 yards on the ground. Now, Shedeur had negative 32 because of sacks. So really it was closer to 80-something yards, but not over 100 yards rushing, but had 510 yards through the air. And I said before the game, I was like, I know Colorado has good players. I didn't know if they were deep enough. Honestly, they didn't spread it around a lot in the passing game, but they didn't have to. Travis Hunter had 11 receptions for 119 yards. Xavier Weaver, 6 receptions, 118 yards. Dylan Edwards out of the backfield, 5 catches, 135 yards. 2 huge touchdown receptions, one on a screen pass, one on a little swing route on 4th and 2. But he was electric in this football game. And then a couple passes to Michael Harrison and Tavares Johnson. That was it. Like, that was Dawson, excuse me. That was all they did through the air, but that was all they needed. Shedeur Sanders looked great. I mean, he was confident. I don't understand. Like, I don't get what Joe Gillespie was doing. He hardly ever brought pressure. Like, there was a lot of soft coverage. just kind of sitting back. And I realized, like, I don't know what to make of this. I said during the week, Sean Lewis's offense is going to be a challenge to prepare for. They go fast, they spread you out, they make you defend the width of the field. But like, Sean Lewis comes from the Briles coaching tree. He worked with Dino Babers, who coached at Baylor, and that's the offense that he runs. Kendall Briles is on staff at TCU. Joe Gillespie has familiarity with that veer and shoot system. Now they have different personnel, and their personnel is really good, but they looked lost, and I don't have an answer for why that is. And they couldn't get pressure on Sanders, and it led to big plays. I mean, when they brought pressure at times, it was successful. They did have a few sacks, and that was really like when they slowed down drives, it was because of creating negative plays. But they just had no answer in the passing game today. And I said for months, I was like, I thought the secondary was the strength of this football team. Josh Newton was coming back. They got some really good transfer players. Avery Helm, Shannon Canada, Mason White, all their safeties were back. But they just couldn't make plays today when they had to. And there wasn't a pass rush, which doesn't help. When you're not getting pressure on the quarterback consistently, then you can sit back and throw. And Sanders did a really great job of moving around the pocket, but he was very in control with it. And so he would escape pressure, and he would just sort of move around and weave his way through traffic, but he was always keeping his eyes downfield. It was like he wasn't moving around with, okay, I'm going to tuck and run here or scramble. It was with the mindset of, I'm going to throw the football down the field. Travis Hunter, I don't want to be like a prisoner of the moment, but he's probably a top 5 player in college football. Like, he dominated this football game today on both sides in a way that I really haven't seen in the college ranks, like in my lifetime. It looked like he was playing a 3A high school football game, like one of the small high school guys that, and what I mean by that is, you'll watch like small school, high school football, and you'll see a guy that's just either receiver in a corner or quarterback in corner, quarterback in safety, whatever it is. And he's the best player on the field, best athlete on the field, and he's just making plays everywhere. That's who Travis Hunter was today. I mean, he was just a monster. I don't know how many snaps he ended up playing, but I know midway through the fourth quarter, it was at 110. So it was above that. So that was one of my many wrong takes this week. I questioned because he didn't – I mean, I know he had some injuries at Jackson State, but he didn't play like a ton of snaps both ways at Jackson State. But he played both ways at Colorado today, and he tore it up for them, and which is absolutely fantastic. But, yeah, the defense, man, today it was just a total mess on that side of the ball for TCU. They could not get stops, could not get off the field. Colorado got whatever they wanted on third down and fourth down. And last year, I mean, there were times last season where we talked about this leading up to this game. They had slow starts. There were times last year where the first half just didn't look like they had their bearings, but at halftime they would sure it up and fix it. And there was a short period in the third quarter of this game where it looked like that might end up being the story. Got a few stops even after TCU had a horrible turnover down at, I think, the 6-yard line, Colorado 6-yard line on 3rd and 1. Chandler Morris threw a pick. Travis Hunter, again, making a huge play. And felt like, okay, that might be the ball game, but defense stepped up and got a stop. Ensuing drive, TCU took their first lead of the game, and you thought, okay, here we go. This is it. But it didn't materialize. In the fourth quarter, Colorado just did whatever they wanted. All the things I thought that TCU might have the advantage in, they really didn't today. I thought the offensive line played well. I mean, Amani Bailey had a good day. They didn't dominate in the run game like I thought they might. But they ran for almost 300 yards. Yeah, 260 yards rushing, TCU did. Amani, 164 yards on 14 carries. Did have one long carry when the Frogs were backed up kind of towards their own end zone. So that affected his numbers. But overall, I mean, I thought the O-line did okay. They protected Chandler pretty well and ran the ball fine, but just wasn't enough. And defensively, D-line and secondary, just a really rough day for them. And even the linebackers, you saw Colorado isolate their skill guys against some of the linebackers for TCU, and they couldn't make the plays they had to make in the moment. So later on in the show, we'll talk about where we go from here. But this is a tough loss. I mean, it was really, in hindsight, it was kind of impossible to predict what Colorado was going to be. They looked like a really good football team today. Again, TCU didn't play their best game. Turnovers, penalties, but Colorado came in and won that football game. I mean, there were multiple times where TCU took the lead in the second half, or I guess a couple times, not like 2 or 3, where TCU took the lead in the second half, and you thought, all right, this is it. Just got to get one big stop, and then the tide's going to turn, and the momentum will be on the Frog side. But they couldn't get stops when they had to, and then ultimately the offense couldn't put together a drive at the end of the game when they had to. Offensively, I mean, they scored 42 points. I thought the offense looked disjointed a little bit today. There didn't seem to be a great rhythm to it. They hit some big plays that helped them out. But overall, I mean, for first game in a new system, if you take the turnovers out of the equation, I mean, those 2 interceptions were in the red zone. So at least you're giving up 6 points there. Griffin Kell missed a kick. So at the very least, you're giving up 9 points. I think you could argue they gave away 17 points in this ball game, or left 17 points on the board with turnovers and mishaps on special teams. So I don't have a ton to complain about with the offense. Chandler Morris made some mistakes today. Yes. Those INTs were inexcusable. And just missed some throws too. I mean, missed Dalen Wright on that last drive. I don't remember what the down and distance was, but had Dalen wide open over the middle of the field. And I don't know if he scores on that play, but if he catches it, they're deep in Colorado territory and are at least in a situation where they could potentially tie the game with a field goal there. And Chandler was staring guys down today. I mean, that was one thing that stood out to me. My friend Harrison Graham, who works for Chat Sports, he was like, yeah, the field vision was not good. It was all like predetermined, premeditated reads. Okay, I'm going here. I'm going here. And Travis Hunter should have had 2 picks today because he undercut Savion Williams' route at one point in the game and just ball went in and out of his hands. But you saw Chandler just staring down the wideout the whole time. So, yeah, I was wrong. I was wrong about Colorado. I mean, I'll take the criticism in the YouTube comments, and I've already taken some heat on social media, which is fine. This is part of it. Not the first time, not the last time. I'm going to have opinions on here that are not correct, but they were fantastic today. And it wasn't just great athletes being great athletes. I mean, that was a huge part of it. They have really good players. But it was also a team that was well coached and organized and had a clear plan and a clear vision for what they wanted to do today. So hats off to them. They won the football game, and yeah, I underestimated them in a big way. And so TCU's 0-1. Where do they go from here? I mean, it's possible. I think we look at this game 6 or 7 weeks later, if Colorado's making noise in the Pac-12, and we say, yeah, I mean, lost to a good football team in a wild game. And it was like that game today reminded me of the Fiesta Bowl. It was like the Fiesta Bowl in reverse, just big play after big play. TCU just was on the other end of it, missed opportunities, etc. But anyway, we could look at this game like 6-7 weeks from now and say, well, Colorado was one of the more talented teams TCU's played on their schedule, and the Frogs might be rolling, and that was just a blip on the radar, or this could be the beginning of what could be a tough season. And it's up to Sonny Dykes in this team to determine what that looks like going forward. First regular season loss in the Sonny Dykes era. I mean, they lost, the national title game, lost the Big 12 championship game. First regular season loss in the Sonny Dykes era. First loss at home. First loss there at Amon G. Carter under Coach Dykes as well. And really the first time we've seen like adversity for this team and how are they going to respond to it moving forward. When we come back, we'll talk about the 5 plays. I mean, there were more than that, but we'll talk about 5 plays that cost TCU the game today. We'll do that next here in Lockdown Horned Frogs. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Gametime. Buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be stressful. Gametime's a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports. music, comedy, and theater near you. They have killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have at the event. They have flash deals for last-minute tickets, easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Forget planning months in advance. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. And the Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. One of the things I love about the app is they have pictures of your seat location. So it shows you the field, it shows you the venue, whatever it is, and you have a good idea of, okay, this is where I'm sitting at. This is my vantage point during the game. I'd prefer this, I'd prefer that, etc. And so you can kind of mix and match. You can buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps and you're all set, and they're sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right, so how did all this go down today? And, when we talk about football, we can always narrow it down to a few plays. Obviously, there's a lot going on in a football game. But to me, these were the 5 plays today that ultimately cost TCU the football game. So, first drive of the game, TCU goes 3 and out. They got 3rd and 3, and Chandler tries to hit J.P. Richardson on an out route. Wasn't there. He ends up throwing it to the sidelines. Okay, you punt it. Colorado goes down, and they score a touchdown. A really just textbook drive. 13 plays, 73 yards. They go the length of the field, and they score. TCU gets back, and they quickly go down the field, and you're like, all right, they're in the red zone. Tie this football game up. Might be a track meet, but, you tie the game up. You feel better about things. Settle in, and let's go. And 2nd and 11 at the 14, at the Colorado 14, Chandler Morris throws a pick. And he had Jared Wiley going down the seam, but there was a safety, behind him. And Chandler just got locked in on Jared and waited too long, threw the ball, and it was intercepted. And that turnover Colorado didn't get points off that turnover. They went down the field, but they had a field goal blocked on the ensuing possession. But had a chance to tie that game early and could not do it. Left points on the board. Another thing about today, TCU's receivers weren't really featured much in this offense. Jared Wiley had a nice night, and we talked about him and what he could do this season. We're excited about his potential. 6 receptions for 69 yards. He led the team in receiving, also had a touchdown. J.P. Richardson, 6 receptions for 63 yards. Dalen Wright, 2 catches for 44. Jack Best, 2 catches for 25. And then Warren Thompson, JoJo Earl, each with a catch apiece. Chase Curtis, Trent Battle, Major Everhart involved as well. Savion Williams, only 2 catches for 6 yards. Thought this would be a really deep group at wide receiver. Might end up being the case, but it was really just Wiley in Richardson today that were stepping up and making huge plays. Dalen Wright did have a touchdown catch. Had a chance at another touchdown catch on the final drive of the game. Chandler just missed him, but not the great performance from the TCU receivers that we thought we would get today and in the opening game of the season. Okay, so that's play 1. You go down, have a chance to tie the football game, leave at least 3 points on the board, but potentially 7 when you throw an interception there in the red zone. Second, just huge kind of misplay of the game. Frogs get the ball back. They're down 14-7. They get good field position at their own 48-yard line. Move it down a little bit. Drive stalls out. 43-yard field goal for Griffin Kell, who was fantastic last year. I mean, that's not a chip shot, but it's one you feel like he should make. He misses it. And so now you've left at least 6 points on the board, but potentially as many as 10 between the interception in the red zone and then this missed field goal. And again, just not executing well, just sloppy play. These things happen. But against a team like Colorado that was really talented and really hungry, just giving them hope. TCU did end up tying that game at 14, but then Colorado bounced back before half. They kick a field goal and they take a 17-14 lead in the locker room. And so just another big play where things didn't break right. But in the second half, TCU, after a rough first possession, when Dylan Edwards took a little screen pass 75 yards to the house, they settled in. Down 24-21, got the ball back at their own 1 yard line about midway through the third quarter. And Amani Bailey broke off a 74-yard run that put it deep in Colorado territory. They continued to churn out yards, had 3rd and 1 at the Colorado 4, had been running the ball really well on this drive, and ran a play where Chandler faked the ball to Trey Sanders and then tries to throw a little swing pass to Major Everhart. And Travis Hunter was all over it. And he read it so well that he kind of baited Chandler into making the throw because he wasn't right there, but he was far enough away that he understood he could reach out and snag that ball, and he did that. And so 3rd and 1 at the Colorado 4-yard line, a chance to go take the lead, and another interception in the red zone. This was an I still don't know. I don't know if this was an RPO and Chandler made a bad read or if this was just a straight pass. But either way, infuriating play call by Kendall Briles. And, one thing Garrett Riley got criticized for last year was being too cute in the red zone. Well, this is the exact definition of being too cute in the red zone. I mean, you're running the ball at will. You're churning out yards on this drive. You start at your own 1 yard line. You've done it pretty much with your running backs. Run the football. Like it's most likely 4 down territory anyway. Run the ball, get the first down, and then you got 1st and goal from the 3. Like, you have a ton of options, but that was a disaster. And that was another red zone miscue that led to points for Colorado. And again, just every time it seemed like TCU was going to get it going, get it done, Colorado had an answer, and they had an answer again on that play. Another play that was super costly. So Paul Olawale, Frogs are up by 4 points, and looks like, they're going to have a chance here. They're up 35-31. Paul Olawale gets a sack, pushes it back to the Colorado 19. Colorado has 3rd and 16 at their own 19-yard line. You're up by 4 points. If you get a stop here, we're in the fourth quarter now. Like, if you get a stop here with 10 minutes left in the ball game, that would be huge. Your offense has been humming. They've been scoring on a few drives now. Get the ball back, go score, get it done. Well, again, that's not what happened. 3rd and 16, Shedeur Sanders completes a pass to Travis Hunter for 43 yards, and then a few plays later, he finds Jimmy Horn Jr. for another touchdown. And so a chance to get off the field. TCU defense was really bad on 3rd and 4th downs today. Chance to get off the field, could not do it. Just Sonny Dykes talked a lot this offseason. Last year's team made the plays when they had to make plays. Wasn't always pretty, wasn't always great, won some ugly games, but they made plays when they had to. This team just didn't do it today. Hopefully they can bounce back moving forward, but it did not happen in this ball game. And then the final play, this one's pretty obvious. 4th and 2 at the TCU 46. Again, had the lead, was about 4.5 minutes left, up 45-42. Chance to get off the field, give the offense the ball back, try to salt this thing away. And, they weren't at 45-42. They're at 42-38. But Shedeur Sanders completes a little swing pass to Dylan Edwards, the running back, and he turns the corner on Jamoy Hodge. Mark Perry doesn't have an angle on him, and he takes it to the house for a touchdown. That would be the last touchdown of the game. Frogs fall 45-42. Good play call by Sean Lewis. He had 2 receivers to that side, and he ran them on a crossing pattern, both of them on crossing patterns. So it cleared out space on that side of the field. It was Hodge and Edwards one-on-one trying to race to the corner, and Hodge just couldn't get there. That's a tough play for a linebacker to make, but he just didn't have the foot speed to get out there and make the play in the flat, and Edwards turned the corner and took it to the house, and that was your ball game. Frogs fall 45-42. Those are 5 plays that cost you the football game today. When we come back, all right, what's next? Where do we go from here? We'll talk about that and more here on Locked On Horned Frogs. Okay, Athletic Brewing. Athletic Brewing, one of our great sponsors. Non-alcoholic brews, they are game changers in this space, right? Game changers in the non-alcoholic beer game. They make non-alcoholic brews that actually taste good. They have full flavor. They're well crafted, just like a full-strength beer. Their brews are great tasting and award-winning and beat out full-strength alcoholic beverages in global competitions. They brew over 50 styles of craft, non-alcoholic brews, including IPAs, golden sours, and more. They're constantly releasing limited edition experimental styles to add to their variety. You can find Athletic in store, online, and at bars across the country. Fastest growing non-alcoholic beverage in the U.S., so get on board. Go to their website today, athleticbrewing.com, and first-time customers can use the code LOCKEDON to get 15% off your order. Again, 15% off your order. You go to athleticbrewing.com and use the promo code LOCKEDON. All right, closing up shop here. As I said, listen, thank you for rolling along with me. TCU fans, we're still doing this every day. Colorado fans, if you want to stick around after you gloat and have fun, which is totally fine. You can have some fun at my expense. I was wrong, as I said. We're doing this Monday through Friday, so we're here. We're covering this team. I've covered this team through some rough seasons. I think this is going to be okay. I think everybody needs to take a deep breath. Nobody's getting fired tomorrow, and everybody wants everyone fired. Everybody wants, quarterback change, all these things. Everybody just breathe. This was bad. There's no excuse for it. They got out-coached. They got outplayed today. But there's still 11 games left, okay? Nickel State this week. That one should be a dub. I know I said that about the Colorado game, but that one should be a win. And Colorado might just end up being really good. We'll see what they do from here. They get Nebraska next week, and Matt Rule and his team. But they might just end up being a great football team or a really good football team. And maybe we look back at this later and say, okay, that makes more sense. But TCU was not prepared for this football game today, and it's super disappointing. Where do we go from here? How do we recalibrate expectations? I mean, in a sense, everything's still in front of you. But you got to go win games now. And, the games against Houston and SMU were important already. That Houston game is going to be tricky. You're going on the road to play the Cougars in their first Big 12 conference football game. But you got to win those games now and get to 2-1. And then, or I guess 3-1, assuming that you beat Nickel State. And then you go from there. I think the schedule is still pretty manageable moving forward, but the defense has to get better. And Kevin Borba brought this up in our crossover episode. He was like, hey, do you think there's any kind of, I guess, hangover is the wrong word, but is there any blueprint now for beating up the TCU defense, given what Michigan and Georgia did against them? Michigan really more in the second half, and then Georgia throughout the entire game. And I think Kansas State kind of falls into this as well, isolating guys in coverage, being able to block up front, give their quarterbacks plenty of time to make plays. It certainly looked like there was a blueprint to beat Joe Gillespie's defense on Saturday. Gave up 45 points, over 500 yards of offense. Deion Sanders threw for 500 yards. I mean, they could not run the football. It didn't matter. They were just still spreading it out, throwing the ball all over the place. This is the first true test of the Sonny Dykes era. It's going to be a tough week. Team's going to get hated on some, ridiculed. They'll have to take the brunt of that for a little bit. But bottom line is, you bounce back and you play next week, and you go from there. And hopefully they'll be better prepared moving forward. Hopefully the coaching staff takes this as a challenge. There were a lot of positives today. It just doesn't feel like it because it's a really tough loss. Major Everhart had a great kickoff return. Special teams looked good outside from that missed field goal. And offensively, they had drives where they looked great. I mean, they were efficient. They were getting the ball down the field quickly. It just wasn't consistent enough. Have to find that consistency and have to find some physicality on defense. Tackle guys in space. Even if you're going to struggle to cover, tackle guys in space, and you could have taken care of some of those points today. But this is what it is. You learn lessons the hard way sometimes. Regardless of what happens or how it goes down, we got you covered here on Locked on Horned Frogs. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the podcast. I'm Steven Simcox. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you. And, hopefully we're talking about better things next week when the Frogs take on Nickel State.